And welcome back to the Savage Patriots with your boys, Bro and Jay Lee. As everyone knows, Marlon is still out. He'll be back next week for sure. But we have a very interesting series that we're starting today, and it's going to go into next week. And it's about the radical Islam infiltration of America. So Jay's going to take a lot of the lead on these topics because I think this is his area of expertise or his wheelhouse when it comes to theology. And we're going to break some things down for you, show you some video clips, and let you see what they're trying to bring into our country and what a lot of people are starting to accept and convert to these days.
Or even if we're going to put it that way, cool down from.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is important for us to establish this as we set the precedent for what we're going to explore next week, is that, one, we need to understand what it is that's being believed by this faith system, and then we're going to lean into when they began infiltrating into our culture, and then ultimately the ultimate goal is to change the American way of life and the American way of thinking to reflect this desert, aberrant system of faith.
And you know, my personal opinion, is not going to work out in their favor if they try it. You know, Americans aren't that easy to, well, strong Americans aren't that easy to persuade.
That's the important thing. Strong Americans.
To adopt a system that goes against everything that our country stands for.
Yeah. And then,
so we're going to go for it.
No, I was going to say we'll explore some of the things that they profess to, or at least they should profess to, and then ultimately ask y'all as to whether or not this is compatible with what it is that you ascribe to in your life. And if you want this, then feel free to let it happen. But if you don't, it's on you to fight it.
And if you want this, you can go Durka right over there all you want.
There it is.
I'm going to stay right here in the good old US of A. I'm an American son. So the American sons and daughters, pay attention to what we're going to show you. And this is all pulled straight from their doctrine. This isn't us making something up. This isn't us just saying whatever. We're going to be pulling it straight from CRAM. What's it called? CARM. Yeah, we're going to pull it straight from CARM, and we're going to go over all of this stuff. But before we start, we're going to show you a quick video of what this ideology kind of stands for, especially when it comes to women. So pay attention.
Buckle up, ladies. Yeah, ladies, so that's what they think of you.
Yeah. They think of you as being less than. And this is what their ideology teaches.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to Islam, right? Islam is in, quote unquote, an Abrahamic faith system. And they have a lot of similar beliefs than Christianity, but at the same time, it's more plagiarism than anything else. You got to remember that. See, Muhammad was illiterate. And Muhammad thought that the angel Gabriel came to him and gave him this Islamic faith as he was terrified in a cave, and the angel told him all this stuff, and this is what he needs to promote from here on out. So when it comes to Islam, Islam has 5 pillars that it rests upon. The first one is known as the Shahada, which is basically saying there's only one God. Monotheism is what it is that they promote. And then the second tenet or the pillar of Islam is known as Salat, which is prayer. This is where they get their ideas of prayer, the 5 times a day prayer thing. And you're supposed to say various different prayers throughout the day, which is why they pray 5 times a day, because you got one prayer that's for sunset, one prayer that's for after sunset, one prayer that's said right before the sunset, and stuff like that. So you got that. And then you have fasting, again, which is the month of Ramadan. You have the almsgiving or charity. And then ultimately you got to go through a pilgrimage as a fundamental Islamist, which means going to Mecca, circling that rock, and then coming back home. That's the basic tenets of the Islamic faith. Those are the 5 pillars there.
Mm.
That's what they believe. So, and it was all started by a guy named Muhammad. Police be upon him.
Yeah, and how many years after Christianity, or after Christ, Christianity, the Bible, was Islam created?
Yeah, Islam was created 600 years after the establishment of the church, the Christian church. So you had Christianity and you had Judaism in their history. Then you had the historical figure known as Jesus of Nazareth, who comes onto the scene, does what he does, purports to have died and resurrected amidst 600 or 500 plus witnesses. And then 600 years later, after all the church was brewing with their own thing, you had Muhammad that comes onto the scene, and they're all like, "Oh, Muhammad said this because the angel Gabriel said it was, given to us, and now it's up to Muhammad to promote it." And so he gets all of this from some angelic messenger, and then he promotes it.
So with the Bible, the original writings. Some of those people were actually around when Christ walked the earth, correct?
Yeah. So according to scholars, there would have been 500 plus eyewitnesses who can corroborate with each story as they were witnesses.
And so Muhammad wasn't a witness to anything during Christ's time.
Correct.
Comes on the scene, says the angel Gabriel told him to write this book called the Quran and create a religion called Islam.
Correct.
And tries to refer, discredit anything that Christ talked about or taught, even though the people that were around at that time witnessed a lot of the teachings and the writings in the Bible.
Correct.
And we're supposed to believe who?
Well, I mean, you're supposed to do your research on who the person is that you want to follow. So, for instance, if you want to follow Jesus and become a Christian, you need to research and observe what it is that he talked about. But so we're supposed to do that with everybody. Observe Buddha, observe Muhammad. Observe Jesus, observe the Church of Satan if you want to. It doesn't matter. Observe them. Figure out their points, and then recognize, hey, what do I need to do to reach heaven? Which is what every single other religion actually tells you to do. Is you got to do this, this, and this in order to get to heaven. Observe all of those tenets and figure out what it is that each faith system is saying, and then you come to your own logical conclusion. Some have understood Christianity to say there's nothing you can do to get to heaven, which is why God is the one that grants you access to heaven, and he did it through the person and work of Jesus Christ. Islam says you have to do these 5 pillars in order to get to heaven. Judaism says you got to follow the law to get to heaven. Buddha says you got to be able to pay off your karmic debt in order to achieve nirvana, which is their understanding of heaven. So when it comes to Islam, though, Islam says you have to do these 5 things in order for you to reach what their version of heaven is. So,
and if you don't,
then you deserve hell.
Yeah, you deserve death, hell,
right?
Enslavement, rape, all the things that they stand for, but yet they're talking about God.
Oh, yep. So the thing is that we need to also understand the guy that's named Muhammad. See, every religious figure I've come to recognize has one figurehead that the religion and the faith system stems from. And if we're talking about Islam, we have to look at Muhammad. And Muhammad lived in the 6th and 7th century, Middle East, claims to have a revelation from God, and it's from these revelations that Islam was founded. Muhammad's full name was Muhammad ibn Abdullah, born 570 in Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia. And basically he wanted to, kind of sort of saw what was going on with the pagans of his area, and said that the black stone, the cube that they always say that you need to make a pilgrimage to, was a shrine to God, built by Abraham and his son Ishmael, which is where the schism is. I mean, I don't know if you know the Bible story of Isaac and Ishmael.
Mm-hmm.
But for the audience, basically Abraham was promised a son. His wife was just like, yeah, I don't really believe that promise. So here, take my servant girl Hagar, have a son from him, then we could do it from there. Abraham's like, okay. Ishmael was born, but he wasn't the son of the promise according to the Jewish texts. It was through Isaac. It was through his matrimonial intimacy with Sarah that the child of the promise was supposed to come. That happens. Isaac was born, and now we get that schism between Isaac and Ishmael.
Okay.
And Muslims believe that Ishmael was the child of the promise, not Isaac, and that's where you get that head. And like Marlon always says, the battle between Jews and Muslims, it'll never be. It's not a political thing. It's a theological battle, and you can't come to grips with a theological battle until you round out that theology.
So what about the two factions within Islam? You have the Sunni and the Shia. What are
Sunnis they're more Quran literal.
Mm-hmm.
Shiites tend to be not as much, but they still hold true to the Quranic faith. They're like denominations. They're like the difference between Baptists and Pentecostals in Christianity, if you want to put it that way.
Okay.
Different philosophical understanding of what they define the Quran to be. Shiites are a little more Quran. They're more. They lean more towards what the Quran says in terms of their understanding of what the Quran communicates.
Okay, got it. Very interesting stuff. So when it comes to the Holy Trinity, why is Islam so against the Trinity?
Well, Islam promotes this idea. So if you look at the Shahada, which is their first pillar, the idea that there's only one God. Yes. Trinity has the understanding, according to Christian theology, Trinity believes in one God, but Trinity involves three persons within that one God. What Muslims confuse is the idea that Trinity is tritheism, not Trinitarianism. Trinitarianism is the understanding that God exists in three persons, you could say, but there's still one God. And in that God, which we call the Godhead, is considered that Trinitarian understanding of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They're all God. They're all equal, equally God, but they have different hierarchical roles. Muslims mistake that and say that you have God the Father, which is one God, God the Son, which is another God, and God the Holy Spirit, which is another God, making it a tritheistic idea, which makes, according to the Muslim mind, it means that then Christianity is polytheistic, and that's not the case. So it's a misunderstanding of what Trinity actually is. What they think Trinity is tritheism, not Trinitarianism, and that's the difference.
So in my belief, if God is the Almighty God, wouldn't you think that God, the Creator, could be in more than one place at the same time?
Well, Well, as he is God, he definitely has the capacity to be three in one.
Yes.
To them, the understanding is that no, you worship three different gods at the same time, and it's just exactly. Like, oh, that's a misrepresentation of what the Christian understanding of Trinity actually is.
Yeah, it's almost like when people say God is within us all. They're not saying they're God. They're saying we are one with God, because that is the Almighty Creator, but we all have His spark within us. But we're not saying we're God. And
well, some people do, which is weird. But when it comes to the Muslims, they hold to the one God, but He can't be this three persons type thing.
And this is why they say Christ isn't the Son of God. Correct.
Christ was simply just a man as a messenger. He couldn't have been God, which is why in some Quranic texts they deny the actual crucifixion, the historical records of the crucifixion.
Even though 600 years prior, there are historical, like you said, there are historical records of his crucifixion.
Correct. You have to deny Roman historical records of who they crucified, because back in Jesus's time, Israel was actually a Roman territory. So you'd have to deny Roman records. You'd have to deny Jewish historians like Josephus, who documented the crucifixion of Jesus, and then eyewitness accounts. You'd have to deny all of that, and then deny the patristic writings, the church father writings, all attesting to the verifiable crucifixion of Jesus.
Now, would you think that the reason they do that is to make Muhammad equal to Christ?
Yes. They get to the point where Muhammad is almost deity-like, which is an interesting thought process.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. So he tried to be peaceful with his message, but when people began rejecting him, that's when he became a warlord to try and promote his message, and he succeeds in doing that. So Islam, so that's why you have in some instances of Islam, if you're not a Muslim, then you have to either if you want to live, basically you pay a tax, and if you don't pay a tax, which is known as the jizya, if you don't pay that tax, that's when they kill you.
And that's what they want to bring to our country. 330 million Americans, they want to bring that. You will convert
or die,
or you'll pay a tax, or you'll die. And it's not even guaranteed that we'll let you live after you pay the tax.
That part. And it's an interesting concept, because everything within the Quranic faith is very antithetical to our Western point of view and our Western culture. So, for instance, I sent the first one to the private chat. If you want to go ahead and go ahead and bring that up. This is directly from their Quran, and it's a verse in the Quran that basically tells you women that your word is not fully valid; it's half valid. And here's what I'm talking about. So, so if we look at Quran, chapter 2, verse 282, you're going to read in there that it says that if there is no good witnesses among you, bring 2 women and 1 man to bring about the witness. Bro, whenever you're ready.
You want me to read it?
Go ahead and pull it up.
Oh, my bad. I'm looking at it and I didn't. There you go.
So, yeah, if you want to read it, go ahead.
Okay, it says, "O believers, when you contract a loan for a fixed period of time, commit it to writing. Let the scribe maintain justice between the parties. The scribe should not refuse to write as Allah has taught them to write. They will write what the debtor dictates, bearing Allah in mind and not defrauding the debt. The debtor is incompetent, weak, or unable to dictate. Let their guardian dictate for them with justice. Call upon 2 of your men to witness. If 2 men cannot be found, the 1 man and 2 women of your choice will witness. So if one of the women forgets, the other may remind her."
Okay, stop. Pause.
Yeah.
Now, the context of that is debt, settling a debt. Why is it you need 2 women, 1 man to equal a good, valid witness? Shouldn't the word of 1 woman and 1 man be valid enough of a witness if you need a 2-witness testimony?
Yep.
Ladies, and if you want to click on the second one there, they have what is known as Quran commentaries, known as the Hadiths, and the Hadiths kind of explain what portions of the text are saying. And so, again, if you want to pull the second link there, bro.
Got it.
This is known as Sahih Al-Bukhari, 2650. What is it? Sahih Al-Bukhari.
Let's see. Hold on.
2658, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to read that English portion.
All right. The prophet said, "Isn't the witness of a woman equal to half of that of a man?" The woman said, "Yes." He said, "This is because of the deficiency of the woman's mind."
I don't know how compatible that is with Western society.
Yeah, and it's actually taken us back. As many times as we've talked about the modern feminist movement and the strides women had to take a point in our history, this whole ideology takes them right back to the 1920s,
just about. So, but this is part of their ideological framework. This is part of their worldview framework. They're very patristic, if you want to use that terminology, or for our modern day and age, they are the extreme patriarchy, which feminists should have a problem with, but they don't seem to really have a problem with it. I don't get it. That's like roaches for raid.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. There are other portions of scripture like Quran chapter 4 verses, I don't have it, but it's easily searchable. Chapter 4 verses 34, where it says that if you sense ill conduct from your woman, advise them first. If they persist in their ill conduct, do not share their beds. But if they still persist in their ill conduct, then discipline them gently, quote unquote. Basically, it means to beat your wives. If you feel like they're out of turn. So I don't know any other faith system that promotes the beating of your wives, but no. Islam does.
Yeah, and again, it goes against everything. It goes against Western values. Yes, do we have people out there that do stuff like that? Of course. Yeah. But what happens when they do stuff like that? They get prosecuted. They go to jail, fines, and everything else. Not in all cases. If it's not reported, then there's nothing. I mean, how do they know to do anything about it?
Right.
But it goes against everything that we believe in. I don't understand how they think bringing this doctrine to our country, and then all of a sudden, all the American men, the Western men, are going to be like, "Yep, I guess I'm going to beat my wife now." Every single man. No, they're not.
Right.
They're not going to do it.
Right.
So I don't understand how they think they're going to come over here, indoctrinate people who have certain values, who've been living by Christian values or whatever religious value outside of that religion, and you're going to change that.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to bow down and take whatever justice you're going to bring to them. It's not going to happen that way, especially here in this country.
Right. Yeah. See, the thing is that I think our Constitution was brilliantly developed in a way that protects. It does protect the Muslims' right to pray 5 times a day, but it also protects the Christians' right to also, have the notions of their own worship. So that's the beautiful thing about the Constitution. The problem is that when you are expressing in your freedom of expression, death to America, or ladies who wear skirts and show their kneecaps and elbows are haram and they're detestable, or if the fact that the woman's mind is deficient, that is just some BS, because there are a lot of smart women, and a lot of beautiful women, and Islam kind of sort of takes that away from y'all in that respect.
Yeah, and another thing that drives me crazy is when you see these Muslims in Western countries talking down to people, women mainly, who don't follow their ideology, who know nothing about their ideology, but they're talking to them as if they should understand it and they should know the rules of an ideology that they don't even follow.
Right.
And for them to come over here and even talk that mess in our country, they must not have dealt with a lot of American women. Because American women, strong American women, are not going to take that. They'll drop you just as fast as a strong American man. And that's what they don't understand.
Right.
They don't understand it. Because our women aren't bred. They're not indoctrinated to be, servants like that, or bow down to authority like that. And I'm not saying all women are like that, because there are some women that are brought up like that. But the majority of American women aren't brought up like that. They're not.
Yeah.
They're just as bad as the men. They're just a feminine version of it sometimes.
But it's just an interesting turn of events where you have modern day feminists who act like they don't want the patriarchy, but then they follow and they cape for one of the most patriarchal societies ever in Islam. It doesn't make any sense, though. I find that odd.
I think a lot of these modern feminists out here only see the beauty of Islam. And what I mean by beauty, they see the pictures of the women in the hijabs and they got their makeup and they're just looking glamorous. They're not seeing the dark side of Islam.
That's the
they
problem.
Don't pay attention. Yeah, they don't pay attention to that side. They only see, oh, look how they dress in Dubai, and they all try to mimic Dubai, places like Dubai, Egypt. You know what I mean? That's what they try to mimic. Qatar, the beautiful modern Islamic nations. But they're not trying to mimic what's going on in Afghanistan. They're not mimicking that. They don't want to see that stuff. And that's why they're confused. They only read the parts that suit them.
But it doesn't make sense. Right, but it doesn't make sense to even go that far, because like the way they go about, in Afghanistan and in Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, all these places still have this patriarchal mentality to the point where much of Dubai was built by slaves. But I thought, Western culture, we don't do slaves. In Afghanistan, and bro, you're probably aware of this, there is a practice in Afghanistan known as bachabazi that was in fact done by Sunni and Shia Muslims. Again, the wife beating seems to be a default behavior in Muslim men. In Somalia, don't even get us started on how Somalia is doing. They're a Muslim country, and look at what they do.
Exactly. Can you send that video of yours to the private chat? Because my messenger isn't up on here. Yeah,
let me do this. And again, what I'd like to propose a kind of sort of a verbal change, if you will. There is no such thing as radical Islam. I think that's been a westernized cop out, because then you want to be able to say that, oh, you have peaceful Muslims and you have these radicals. And I would venture to say that the peaceful Islams are just westernized Muslims. They don't really know what it is that they believe. If you're a true Muslim, it's either Islam or bust.
Yep.
There's no other way to go about it. So for us, I really think, and this we're going to probably explore. We're going to explore this. Within the next coming week. Is that radical Islam is not a thing. That's a Western cop out for multicultural purposes. It's either Islam or you're not, and Islam is going to be the ones that Islam's intention is for hostile takeover, whether by sleight of hand or whether by brute force. It's all about hostile takeover, and we're gonna explore that. But yeah, there's no such thing as a radical Islam. You're either a Muslim or you're not, and there's a video to prove this coming out of the horse's mouth. Here in a second.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. Let me do this. This thing is acting up.
So, but ladies, again, if you do not want to be faced with the idea of being considered half a brain and half a mind, you also need to fight this too.
Facts. Nope, that's not it. Why isn't it coming up?
I see it on the screen.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. It's not on my hang on. There it is. All right.
Watch this idiot. They always can come with the same accusations. This speaker supports death penalty for they subjugate women, etc. The same old stuff coming all the time. I always try to tell them that it's not that speaker that we're inviting who has these extreme radical views, as you say. These are general views that every Muslim actually has. Every Muslim believes in these things. Just because they're not telling you about it, or just because they're not out there in the media, doesn't mean they don't believe in that. So I will ask you, everyone in the room, how many of you are normal Muslims? You're not extremists, you're not radical, you're normal Sunni Muslims. Please raise your hands. Everybody, mashallah, subhanallah. How many of you agree that the punishments described in the Quran and the Sunnah, whether it is death, whether it is stoning for adultery, whatever it is, if it is from Allah and His Messenger, that is the best punishment ever possible for humankind? Who agrees with that? Allahu Akbar. Are you all radical extremists? What is the media going to say now? We're all radicals? We need to deport all of us from this country?
Watch this idiot.
They always can come with.
There you have it. He's one of the top leading Muslim apologists who literally said death by stoning is the best punishment for humankind because Muhammad said so. And all of them in that little tiny space raised their hands and said they agree. This is the best. And this is what's coming into the country.
Yeah, can you imagine in America say that pipe dream happened? Islam is the main religion in all 50 states, which will never happen. And our women couldn't leave the house without a male escort.
Mm-hmm.
If they show a kneecap, if they show their hair, if you eat any pork, if you eat during Ramadan, if you're not praying 5 times a day, if you're not doing all the things that the Quran says you have to do based off the 5 pillars,
mm-hmm.
you can be killed, stoned, beat, everything taken from you.
Yep.
Just for not following the rules to a T.
Yep.
That's the one thing Christianity doesn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity allows you to live your life as you please. And that's between you and our creator, what happens in the end. Now, do we have some on our side that go a little overboard sometimes? Yeah, but they're not out here killing people.
Right. Yeah. This should be a concern for everybody because this isn't just some ideology. It's now becoming a political force.
Yes.
That's where Islam becomes. We're all worried about theocracy. Well, Islam really is a theocracy based upon religious texts that say that you could beat your wives if you have a suspicion of rebellion. That women are in fact the worse off intellectually than a man, and that it takes 2 women to equal one witness testimony. It's just the weirdest thing. We're not even gonna go into some of the crazier stuff that Muhammad took part in, but these are just the basic tenets of the Islamic faith, and just because they're rooted in some fashion, the Abrahamic religions, to where they're muddied in with Judaism and Christianity, doesn't necessarily make it a valid faith system to follow. And if you observe Muhammad and you recognize what he says in the Quran, as well as the different commentaries that there are with the Quran, the supplementary commentaries, I'm sorry to say this, but it's not compatible with our Western thinking. And I think for us as true-blooded Americans, born and raised here under the protection of the Constitution of the United States, we have to do what we can to combat this.
Yeah, and that's one of the main reasons why a lot of these former presidents would say things like, well, nothing is absolute. The Constitution is just a piece of paper, because they're trying to degrade it, and they put that in people's heads. This is why you get a lot of these far leftists, these radicals out here. I would
Marxists.
call them. Marxists would say they want to get rid of the Constitution and replace it with what? This type of religion, because this type of religion aligns almost with communism, and that's what they want. It aligns with that.
Yeah.
And it's not compatible, as Jay stated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be very, very hard and difficult for Americans to adopt anything like this. Yes, you're going to have your little outliers out there that do it as a fashion statement, or it's trendy to dress like that or act like that.
Right.
But that's not the Islam that this guy that we saw is preaching.
Mm-hmm.
In order for them to even wear that stuff, they have to really be living in that religion, and a lot of them aren't. It's a trend. It's cool. You know, I read one book of the Quran. Now I'm Muslim and I don't eat pork. That's mainly what the fake ones talk about.
Yeah.
The real ones, they live by that.
Right.
And you couldn't even walk down the street without one of them watching you, seeing you do something, reporting you back to whatever Sharia judges they have, you know, and knocking on your door, snatching you up. We don't want that here.
Well, and the funny thing is that you say that because in the UK they have something called Sharia patrols, where it's just a tiny group of Muslim men, but they literally walk around the streets of London or these other places in the UK particularly, and they literally come down on couples who are just drinking a beer,
Yep.
and yet at the same time, this is the UK is a westernized country that I think capitulated, and if we don't want to be like the UK, we got to do something to combat the combat this worldview.
And I think they did it in the UK as a test. They wanted to say, okay, if we start inserting these Muslims into this country, how fast could they take over? And they took over pretty fast. It wasn't long before there's Islam everywhere. And then the actual natural born citizens of that country don't have a voice. And if you speak your opinion about it, they throw the naturalized citizen who's been in that country their whole life in jail.
Right. No, absolutely.
I saw this video of this lady on the bus. It was kind of going around, and it was obviously during Ramadan. And there was this Muslim on there videotaping her while she was eating on the bus. And he said,
I saw that.
"Could you not eat? I'm fasting." And she was like, "I don't care.
Yeah.
That is your thing. That is not my thing. I'm eating on my lunch break pretty much. And you fasting has nothing to do with me." And he kept trying to tell her to stop enjoying what she wants to enjoy. And she's not even Muslim. So those are the things you have to worry about.
Yeah.
If they infiltrate and you're not a Muslim, they're going to shame you for the exact things that Jay mentioned. Drinking out in public, eating during Ramadan, driving by during their prayer when they're blocking the streets and you're not, praying homage to the East with them.
Yep. And it's just
attack you for it.
No, for sure. And I think, in my opinion, it's an odd thing for Western individuals who have no understanding of this faith, that they support it because you have these queers for Palestine, you have even the Jews for Palestine. In fact, it's just an odd virtue signaling nonsensical behavior because it's like you're caping for the very people that wouldn't go out of their way to see you, destroyed. Yep. For lack of a better word. And I think for us, we really need to wise up to the reality that this faith system is promoting, because what they'll do is they'll lie about it. They think Islam, it treats women right. It's a humanitarian effort. It's got this, and this. And yet at the same time, if you're not up to par with what it is that they promote, then you'll be lost in sort of this confusion of just the fact that it goes against your values. Like women are half a mind, they have half a brain. It's like stuff like that should give pause for us Westerners, because
and why would you want a religion that has something called honor killing? And they're okay with that. They're okay with killing their daughter for not following Islamic law, and they'll kill their child or they'll kill a family member because they don't toe the line to that religion. Yeah. The acid baths, they throw acid in women's faces for whatever reason. They stone people. There's videos, hundreds of videos of them beheading Christians. And that's what you want here? Imagine if they did take over and you failed to convert. They already said, yes, death is punishable by death.
It is.
They put your family member on the screen for not converting. And you converted. You're one of the weak ones that said, "Oh, I'm going to bow down to you. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do what you say." And your family member did it.
Yeah.
And you turn on your TV and you see your family member lined up. And they do the things that they've done to hundreds and hundreds of other individuals for not following law.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a Middle East thing, man. This is happening worldwide. Everywhere they go, they do stuff like this. And some of these governments allow it.
That's the sad part. And which is why, again, we need to be an informed group of people, which is why I think having a constitution and reading it is necessary for you and I, because that way we stop all of this nonsense about, we stop the nonsense of people like Imam Dani, who is for global intifada, which is basically, you know, a global wiping out of the Jews, the Jewish people.
Yeah.
But he also is okay with Sharia law, which again is just you ladies. You're not able to drink your alcohol if you are a drinker. You know, substances such as marijuana is a no because that's polluting your Allah's body. Just a bunch of other stuff too. I mean, a lot of times, you know, when you read some of these instances of these honor killings, it's just the extrapolation of some of these Quranic verses. If a woman is half of a brain, then her testimony doesn't really matter if she, you know, gets raped, because it's just her word against a man. But because she's half a brain and she's got half the intelligence and her mind is deficient, her testimony really doesn't matter. And so that goes straight against due process. That goes straight against everything that we believe from a legal standpoint. And it's just one of those things where if you're a Western woman living under the auspices of this here Constitution, it's on you to raise a voice.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing everything we can here at the Savage Patriots to do to stay educated. But at the end of the day,
can you imagine them knocking on your door, wanting to speak to your daughter because she posted a TikTok video? They've done things like that.
I believe it.
You know, they've killed young ladies because they saw them online without their hijab on.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been plenty of instances where that happened, tragically.
And for the people that are about to save the children, right? Pedophilia, you know, wood chippers and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. Why would you follow a guy who is a pedo?
I wasn't going to go there, but I think we should.
We're going to go there because it's the truth. Okay. And then when you bring it up to them, they always try to deflect. Well, no, she had her first period, and you know, once she has her first period, she's of a woman. No, and not in the West, dude.
Yeah.
And so this is one genital mutilation is another thing they practice. You know, they're slowly bringing it into our country in many ways, but we don't see it. A lot of people don't understand it. If you make genital mutilation a norm, if Islam was to come in, it'd just be a normal thing.
Okay, so hang on a second.
Oh man,
I wasn't gonna go here, but I mean, from the horse's mouth.
Hey, we're gonna go there. The truth stings, right? Stop sugarcoating with these people, because these people, they don't care. If you're not one of them, they don't care about you. They'll enslave you. They'll rape you. They'll do anything possible to get you to bow down to their will and accept their religion. No matter what they say, they can lie to you.
Yeah. And so, bro, if you will do me the honor of going to the private chat.
Oh man, here we go.
See, here's the thing, right? Ladies, if you had a young daughter who's at the age of 6, would you let a 54-some-odd-year-old man come to you and say, I want your daughter? If you say yes to that, I have serious issues with you.
Mm-hmm. Which one is it? Fuck around. Is that one? 5134. I have so many things open. Is this it? Yeah.
So he'll have a card 5134. Okay. Mr. Michael, can you read that? Now, this is narrated by Aisha, that same girl that this is talking about. Go ahead.
Okay, from Aisha. The Prophet married her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old.
So, again,
Hisham said, I have been informed that Aisha remained with the Prophet for 9 years till his death.
So, again, Muhammad took her when she was 6, married her at 6 years old, and had sex with her and consummated that marriage when she was 9. Not even a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Most 9-year-olds, doesn't matter the historical context, they don't go through puberty until 13, 14, 15. Aisha was the one that narrated that. So it came from her mouth, where she confessed, I was 6 when he took me, and he came into me at 9. And there are a lot of Muslims out here who actually promote that and defend that.
And this is what they want. This is why they have things. Instead of calling a pedo, they call it a, what's that term they use?
Minor attracted person.
Minor attracted person, because they're trying to normalize things like that. And all this ties together, I believe. I believe it all ties together with Islam. It all ties into it. Genital mutilation, it was pushing that for the last few years. The freaking minor attracted pedo stuff, they was pushing that. They was trying to make it normal. This all ties into Islam.
I mean, there was an instance in Dearborn, Michigan, not too long ago, where the parents went to a Muslim doctor who performed genital mutilation on one of their daughters so that she doesn't feel sexual pleasure. And that's the reason why they do it. I mean, I don't care however you spin it. That could be your daughter, ladies and gentlemen of our audience. That could be your daughter. That could be your sister. That could be your grandmother, your aunt, your wife.
Yep.
For that to happen. I mean, the fact that they want to come in and instill some of these practices is definitely something that we need to combat, whether it be, legally or physically, but it has to be fought because you don't want that nonsense to be introduced into your livelihood.
Yeah, just imagine them getting rid of the Constitution. Constitution's gone, it's null and void. We're dumping it, and we're going to adapt to Islam. That means your kids, I hate to say, are free game to them. There is no law stopping them from doing anything, because based off their rules, their laws, they're allowed to do that. And this is what they want you to accept. They only talk about the glamour of, there's not a lot of glamour within it, but they show you the glamorous side of, oh, look at the women, they're so beautiful. Oh, look, they're healthy and they eat and they get we provide for them, and the men take care of the women and protect the women. Western men are already do that. We don't need your religion to tell us to protect our women or our children.
Right.
We do that ourselves.
Yep. Just so you know that I'm not lying about that Dearborn, not Dearborn? It was a Michigan case, Detroit case. Mike, if you want to bring up that report, the last thing I sent you.
Mm-hmm.
So that literally happened in what is known as Northfield, Michigan. It's a prominent suburb just outside of Detroit, where a Muslim couple took their daughter, or tried to take their daughter, to this doctor to perform FGM, which is female genital mutilation. The reason for it is the family said that the daughter was entering into a very a precarious age, if you know what I mean, where she would be feeling sexual pleasure. And in order for that to stop, this doctor was about to perform FGM. That happened here in Michigan. America.
And can you imagine Sharia law being the norm in our country? How many young girls would have to line up and get that done to them with no say so? Because the Constitution is null and void. As long as we have the Constitution and we have the laws that we have, our Western values and our Christian values, none of this will happen in our country. The minute you start accepting stuff like this, you're just opening a door. You're opening it wider and wider and wider to the point you're going to be flooded with this stuff and you can't stop it.
Yeah, that part.
And this is how they do it. They slowly infiltrate. They go local government, schools, big government. They build their mosque everywhere. They have all their propaganda pushed out to where all the people are watching this stuff thinking it's this great ideology. Next thing you know, we can't stop it.
Your daughter's next in line. Yeah, your daughter's next in line to have this done to her. And you can't stop
if we allow it.
If we allow it.
And the way we don't allow it is by not allowing people in government that promote stuff like this, because they're infiltrating every facet of, American Western culture, whether it's the media, politics, policing. They're everywhere. Judges, doctors, they're all over the place, and they're just waiting. They're patient. They'll play nice. They'll play the good role, the good American citizen. I love this country. But behind the scenes, they're plotting on our demise.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled by it.
The whole idea of Islam Islam means submission to God. Some of them have submitted by their own will because they heard the message, but a lot have been submitted by force. But for us as Americans, because we understand what the Constitution says, because the roots of our country was built off of a Christian legal philosophy, like due process, common law, all that stuff. This ideology, this worldview is antithetical to all of that. So what are we going to do about it is the question. What can we do about it? Is the question. I mean, and I think it's already started. The infiltration has already started. We have guys like Mamdani, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, all that stuff.
Yeah, and it all starts in your local community. As many times as we get on this podcast, we go, it starts in your local community. Stop turning the other cheek. Stop turning a blind eye if they say, we're going to build a mega mosque over here. We're going to allow them to have their own little Islam right here.
Yeah.
And then once you allow that, it starts spreading. We want more. Okay, we'll give you more. We want more land. Hey, we don't want that type of stuff over here. We don't want bars. We don't want them selling pork. We don't want them doing this. We don't want them doing that. Okay, yeah. They get the right person in office, like Mamdani, it's going to pass. Next thing you know, it's too late.
Yeah.
So you have to start speaking up when, those red flags start getting raised and you're like, wait a minute, this goes against everything that our community stands for. We're not going to allow it. If they want to go out here to this city or that county and do it and they allow it, let them allow it. Start standing up for your communities.
And this is the right of every American man and woman, is to stand up for their community. And listen, okay, here's what it is, okay? In the Constitution, we have the First Amendment, and the First Amendment tells you and I that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, and here's the kicker, or of the right for the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. If your government, whether it be local, state, or federal, is infringing upon you while they're establishing a certain religious sector, you've got your responsibility to gather everybody that you know, write an affidavit, and hand it on over to your local government and say, we do not want this to occur. You can't play favorites because, quote unquote, racism, which seems to be the excuse that happens more often than not.
Racism or the phobias.
Right.
And this is why I believe it's hard, because they have to get past the Constitution. They have to get rid of it in order for this to come to fruition. As long as we have a Constitution, they can't technically do it, because that religion goes against everything that we stand for.
And Congress and no government in that regard should favor it. Yeah. If they do, it's on us, the people. We, the people, need to stand up against it.
And we allow it. If it does happen, that means we just sat back and allowed it because we don't want to be a phobia or ism or whatever other buzzwords they like to throw at us.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, stand for your country. Anything that goes against what our country and our values stand for, I don't care who it is. I don't care if they're an American and they go against what our country's values and what we stand for. They need to go. Period.
Yeah, it's on us. But if you look at Dearborn, it was on the citizens of Dearborn, and they allowed it, and that's where they're at now. To the point where, if you're not serving anything halal, your restaurant goes out of business.
Yep.
Do you want that for your business? Is the question.
And all they have to do is go to what? City council. They get enough votes. because they've infiltrated the city. There's more of them than natural born people there. And all they have to do is say, yeah, we want it out. And guess what?
You're out.
You're out. They voted it. You're out. Close your business. It's done. And they'll make up any reason to have your business closed.
Yep.
Just so they can replace it with their type of business. Yep. And that's how they infiltrate. They move into your neighborhoods. They move into your cities. They just infiltrate. They outbreed us. They build up their establishments, and they shun you for even going near them because you're not one of them. And they get people to move.
I think for us as Americans, if you are capable, I would. My suggestion, if you're listening, is to have lots of babies, American babies, educated with American standards, based by the American Constitution. Because when it comes to Islam, Muslims. They birth a lot of kids. It was stated a while ago that France will become a Muslim nation in 3 or 4 generations just by birth rate alone. Yep. Meanwhile, us in America, our birth replacement rate has fallen well below 1.8, and that's just not enough to even replace anybody. So if we want our country to have a solid foundation, we need natural born citizens here who are inundated with the United States Constitution and the values of what America presents and the freedoms that America has. And we need well-informed, well-educated, just well-informed parents who can teach their kids what it means to truly be an American. Because otherwise, Islam and Muslims will outbirth us Americans, 2 to 1, and they're already doing it. And
to President Donald Trump, sign an executive order saying that any religion that goes against the founding of our country, goes against the Constitution of our country, is outlawed.
Yeah,
you can practice your religion, but the minute you start trying to push that to destroy our republic, and that's anti-republic, that's anti-rights, that's anti-anything that goes against what our country stands for, it is no more. Sharia law should be banned from our country, period. Executive order, it is against the law to practice Sharia law in America. You can practice your religion all day long.
Yeah.
But the minute you start to push Sharia, that should be illegal.
I agree. So at the end of the day, have your Muslim friends, but remember their whole goal is to turn you into a follower of Muhammad. And at the end of the day, I don't know if you really want a guy as your figurehead who went around and captured a 6-year-old and had sex with her at 9 as the basis of your belief system. But that's just me. And in the words of Mike, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying. A religion built on war, death, destruction, rape, pillaging, all those things. Think about it. So, and this is something that they're actually trying to get in our country. They're doing it behind the scenes, man. They're slowly trying to push it. That's why they're flooding certain communities with these people. They know they're going to outbreed the people living in those cities, in those states.
Yeah.
And it's not a now thing. It's a generational thing, as Jay said earlier about France. It's a generational thing. Mm-hmm. It's harder in America. This is a very hard country to take over. Mm-hmm. But if they can breed us out, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations from now, they get what they want. Mm-hmm. But we have to stop it now for our future generations, our future bloodlines, 10 generations from now.
Yep. Because
our bloodlines are going to continue on. Some of them, they're going to continue on. Do we want that for them? No. That means we need to stop it now.
Yeah. Exactly. Agreed. So, but we're going to be, so this sets the foundation, and what we're going to talk about next week is the tactics that we're seeing, and hopefully as next week comes around, we'll be able to tell y'all what we think is happening with regards to why we talked about Islam today. Because I think it's important that this sets the preface. This is actually the preface of next week's show, so we need y'all to tune in.
Yes, sir. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you go to the CARM website if you guys want to read more about Islam. It's CARM.org, CARM.org. I'll put it in the chat. So you guys can actually go read up on some of this stuff. and you're just not hearing it from us. Remember, we're all about researching. We tell you the information, and you do your due diligence to go look it up yourself. That way you know that we're not just talking out our rear end.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to bring the receipts. We're going to bring the facts to you guys every time. And if we're wrong about something, you guys know how to let us know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, email us, let us know, like, hey, you know, you guys are kind of wrong about this. Here's something I found. Show us what you found. We'll research it. And we're grown enough to say, hey, we were wrong.
But if we prove you're wrong, then it's on you to change your mind.
Yes, sir.
And so far, we haven't been proven wrong yet. So
that's right. We're the oracles. Don't forget that. We are the oracles. We've been pretty right so far. But with that said, Jay, going to take us out.
So like, share, comment, subscribe. We'll see y'all next Friday. Peace.
Oh.